You all, it is 972-235-5555.
You are listening to Your Business Matters with Attorney Pallavi Ahluwalia. Call in with your questions at 972-235-5555. That's 972-235-5555. Or email pallavi@yourdesilawyer.com. Call now to get a second opinion on your current case. Miss Ahluwalia received her law degree over 18 years ago, and her office handles cases involving immigration law, family law, business law, contract law, and civil litigation. Call 972-235-5555. That's 972-235-5555. Or email pallavi@yourdesilawyer.com. Questions for the program Your Business Matters with Pallavi Ahluwalia can be in English, Hindi, or Urdu. If you prefer an in-person consultation, call 972-361-0606. Remember to turn off your radio when calling.
This Your Business Matters with Pallavi Ahluwalia, and get ready with your questions while I tell you the information about their website ahluwalialaw.com, where you will get all the information about the current visa bulletin and many other things that you might look into if you visit the website ahluwalialaw.com. 972-361-0606 is the number, and yes, get ready to ask any question related to employment and family-based immigration, family law, corporate law, and civil matters. 972-235-5555 is the number in the studio. With that, would like to welcome Pallavi on the airwaves of Phonesia Radio 104.9 FM. Good morning to you. How are you?
Wonderful morning to you, Mitu. Glad to be here with Your Business Matters this Wednesday morning and to be able to be a part of your show. I know we have callers who started calling us already and would love to take their calls and interact with them on the air and hopefully be able to answer all their questions. So let's start taking calls. If I have any updates to give, I will, as soon as I have some reprieve, I think, from the calls, I'll try and get in some updates, except for the visa bulletin that's coming up and the very, very urgent cap season that's opening. I don't think we have major news bites for immigration, but something to watch out for would be your STEM extensions, which are set to expire on May 10th of this year, and also to keep an eye out on putting in an RFE-free H1B, which is what should be the plan for employers as well as employees that are filing this cap season. So let's go ahead and start taking some calls.
All right, Pallavi, and we want our listeners to know that Pallavi will be here after the break as well. We will be running into a break in about 6 minutes' time. So hang in there with your questions. She will be here after the break as well. With that, going to our first caller, Fun Asia Radio. You are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question. Fun Asia Radio, you're live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please. All right, going on to our second caller, Fun Asia Radio, you are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please. All right. Fun Asia Radio, you're live on the air. Please go ahead and ask your question. I think there is a certain...
There has to be a technical problem because we have all the lines ringing. But
so, Pallavi, can you share the update that you wanted to give? And in the meantime, let me try and fix this problem here.
Absolutely. So just wanted to let everybody know that the March visa bulletin is out, and that has not, it hasn't moved or progressed significantly, and this is for the EB categories that we are talking about. EB3 for India at this point is July 15th of 2004, not much progress. We have the second EB2, which is October 15th of 2008, and these are final action dates. So this means that if the people who had filed for their labor certifications on those dates and have those priority dates, those are the people at this time that are receiving their green cards. For the filing of the adjustment of status, the dates for EB2 are July 1st of 2009, and for EB3 are July 1st of 2005. So you can see that those are a little bit ahead. That would allow people to file for the adjustment of status. For the rest of the world, that would be Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan. EB3 for filing purposes is May 1st of 2015, and from the standpoint of people just still getting their green cards, those dates still remain a little behind. So they are going to be following these dates of early adjustment filings that are available.
All right, thank you for sharing that. 972-235-5555. And yes, let's try again. Let's take our next caller on the airwaves of Fun Asia Radio. You are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Yes, I have a quick question. I filed I-130 for my spouse, like I'm a U.S. green card holder.
Okay.
My priority date is in December last year. So when I should be expecting her interview
All right.
in the foreign country?
All right, so the final action dates, that's when the interview will happen. At this point are for the family-based second category A, which is what you fall under, September 22nd of 2014.
Okay, so what's the approximate time? Like, so I'll be eligible for naturalization this year, so that might help.
Yes, absolutely. That would make her a current category, and that would have her get set up for the final interview quicker. Now, the naturalization eligibility is one thing, and actually obtaining it may take about 8 months. So we don't know how the F2A category would move in the interim while you have your NATs pending.
Okay, all right, thanks.
All the best.
All right, thank you so much. Quickly going to our next caller, and let me tell you, you just have about a minute left before we run into a break. Quickly ask quick.
And we will be back.
Yes. Go ahead and ask your question, please. You're live on the air.
Yeah, so my question is, currently I'm on H1B. I wanted to transfer to my spouse H4 EAD. So what is the process I can do so that I don't have any break in between?
Yeah, that is the key question for a lot of people, and I think that break will have to happen. So there is not this option of where you are converting to an H4 and not having to wait for the regulatory 90 days that the law forces you to wait for the EAD. So what I would do is, but just in terms of practice and our experience, what we are seeing is that when you put in your H4 a change of status along with the EAD, there is a little bit of the faster adjudication for the H4. Now the EAD may still take about 90 days. So while your H4 is still pending, you still remain on an H1, and that may be the way to resolve that keep working aspect. Now the moment the H4 gets approved, you have to understand you cannot work till you have your EAD. So putting them together may be helpful to push everything out together, but the announcement, the regulation did say that you had to be first an H4 to be eligible for the EAD. I think we're going into a break.
Yes, and Pallavi will be back with your questions, and she will be live on air for a little more time. So hang in with your questions. Number in the studio 972-235-5. All right, welcome back. You are tuned into Fun Asia Radio 104.9 FM, bringing the community together since 2002. This is Your Business Matters with Pallavi Ahluwalia from Ahluwalia Law Offices. And yes, for all our callers who have been waiting patiently to ask their question, let me tell you all that, yes, we will take your calls live on air, and you can ask any question related to employment, family-based immigration, family law, corporate law, or civil matters. Once again, it is Your Business Matters with Pallavi Ahluwalia from Ahluwalia Law Offices. 972-361-0606 is the number to reach her team, and you can take an appointment at the front desk with the front desk manager, and yes, you can have that private consultation with her. But if you have a question right now that you would like to ask on air, this is the time. Going to our next caller, and yes, welcome back, Pallavi. And thanks for hanging around a little longer.
Yes, no, of course. We have so many calls here, and let's start taking all the calls now.
All right. Going to our next caller, Fun Asia Radio. You're live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, Pallavi. My question is regarding the I-130 for the siblings. I applied back in 2005. And then later I moved, and they sent me the letter which I never received. And recently, like 2 years back, I was informed those cases were denied. So I reapplied to reopen those cases or remotion those things. But those got also denied 2 months ago. My question to you is there a way I can get that priority date back?
No. So the burden of informing the government through an AR11 of your change of address belongs to you. So, and the government is not very kind when it comes to according that old priority date. They just want some procedures to be followed. So the RFE, so once you had that RFE that was not responded to, that basically denied the case, and the MTR also, if it was filed 2 years after that RFE was generated and the case denied, would be untimely. So it does not meet their procedural requirements of the motion to reopen, reconsider, and because of that, you will not be accorded that priority date. So you have filed for new I-130s now?
I haven't done yet, so I was just looking into my option before I do that. But you're saying that it's not possible, so I will probably reconsidering doing redo everything. Thanks for your time, man.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
And just one thing real quick, it's a good time to apply for the sibling category because in all the Senate bills that were proposed for immigration reform earlier, and if it even becomes an agenda for the next president, the sibling category was the first one that was on the chop block, so it may just get chopped out. I'm sure that they're going to accord some kind of kindness to the cases that have already been filed and are pending. So I would tell people that are thinking or are on the border line for applying for the sibling categories to go ahead and please do so.
Okay, okay. Thank you for the advice. I will definitely do it.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Going on to our next caller, Fun Asia Radio. You're live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Hi, this is Maida. Actually, my question was that my brother-in-law has filed the sibling for the immigration in the sibling category, and now we in 2014. So now we were thinking, can you apply for the H1B as well by the time the immigration for the sibling process goes on, or no?
Yes, he can.
We can't do like.
No, he can.
Sorry?
He can. He can. So
He can.
yes. So H1B is a dual intent visa. So even if you have a pending immigrant petition for you, it will not impact it. So at the time of the visa processing at the consulate, the only category that may get impacted if somebody were to consider it would be the B1, B2 or the F1 that are strong non-immigrant categories that require the person to come in and return. And filing of that immigrant petition does create that intent. So for the H1B, your answer remains that yes, he can apply for the H1B and it should not have any impact on its adjudication because of the pending I-130.
Okay, and can you please tell me that like how much time is it taking right now for the siblings?
It is taking, currently the people that are getting their green cards are the ones that have filed in July of 2003.
2003. Okay.
So it's about 11
Thank you so
11 years from your date.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call. 972-235-5555 is the number in the studio. Going to our next caller, Fun Asia Radio. You are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please. Yes.
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead and ask your question.
I am currently on L1B visa, and I have an employer who is filing H1B for me, and he would be filing a change of status. So in October, I would move to H1. But if I don't move to the new employer and want to stay with the company, and I go out of the country and come back on L1B, and so my H1 would be inactive, and later next year, suppose in March, I got a new opportunity and I want to move on H1. Can I use this H1 as a reference, or I need to go back in the cap again and wait for October 2017?
Yes, a very good and a very timely question. That's a question that we are often asked, especially when the cap season is opening up for a lot of people. The thing to understand is that the employer does have the ability to withdraw your application, and if they withdraw it before October 1st of 2016 for this year, that cap number will revert back into the cap. So you will not be able to use it going forward. However, if you were to the employer were to go ahead and withdraw it even on the 15th of October, then you have that cap number and you can use it for the next 6 years, as long as you have remaining time that you can still use on the H1B, deducting the L1 time.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much.
All the best.
Going to our next caller, Fun Asia Radio. You're live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Hi, my question would be to travel outside of the US. So we both are on a green card, myself and my husband, and we intend to to travel to London. We understand that the visa process would involve us to go to Houston and get that done. We also have our parents visiting us from India, and their stamping date, they got the stamp somewhere in June. So my question is that during the duration, can they make this trip along with us? And what would be the process for them to both get the London visa and re-enter back into the US?
Okay, so the London visa aspect is not going to be our area, because you'll have to look at what UK requires in terms of visa processing and go through that process. And the Houston, even if the UK consulate in Houston were to take this on, it's going to be on a discretionary basis, because all countries require their visa processing to be done at the home country, and then they do it on a discretionary basis. So that part of your question, just see and follow the instructions on the UK consulate site. Now, in terms of them leaving the country and then trying to re-enter the US, if the only way that they can is if they've been outside the country for over 6 months, because that's what's required. They do not want people to come here and just be residents here. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if they entered the country into the US in June, you said, then they should have already...
They entered in December, and they have they got a 6-month stamp. So they can stay here until June. We wanted to make a week's trip in May, and I was hoping that they can re-enter back with us, or will they run into an issue with my question?
It just depends, depending on the office at the port of entry, whether they would allow it. This is pretty close to the 6 months running out. So the officer may just say, okay, you know what, you may just have the remainder time that's left to you, which is up until June. May not give them a fresh 6 months. But if that's all that you're looking for, it's possible that CBP does give them that 1 month. Again, it's a matter of discretion.
Yeah, sure. I'm not even looking for an extension. As long as they won't really restrict her from coming back in, as long as her visa is stamped until June, right? I mean, even if they stay, I'm not expecting the USCIS to give them another 6 months. But will they restrict entry back because they've exited and not waited for 6 months before coming back?
It is quite in their discretion to restrict entry. So the visa. So the moment when you say they have a visa stamp until June, the moment they leave, that visa stamp does not have any meaning anymore. It's gone. Okay. So that's all you have to consider. So it is based on their discretion, and yes, more than likely, the fact that they still have a month, it's possible for CBP to consider that and give them that month that's left over. They may be even kind enough to just extend it by 6 months, and that's just completely unexpected. Once in a while, that'll happen. But it would be also within their realm of authority to just completely deny their entry into the country.
Understood. Thank you so much. And I cannot really write an email requesting for this allowance from my end. There is no process. It's just on a case-to-case basis. All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you for your question. Once again, 972-361-0606 is the number to reach Pallavi. You do need to take an appointment with her front desk manager. And yes, 972-235-5555, number in the studio if you intend to ask question right now to get your answers live on air. Fun Asia Radio, you are live on air. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, please. If I have a citizenship interview date for March 8th, and if I have to leave the country the same day after the interview, how would I do that? Do I need to get the American passport and everything, or can I just go on the Indian passport?
Okay, so the issue is that if you were to, through your interview, get accepted, and then you are still awaiting the naturalization ceremony, you can tell the officer that you're going to be going out, and at the time of the naturalization ceremony that you're going to get scheduled with, you have to let them know that you had stepped out of the country, and they will ask you that question. However, if the naturalization ceremony were to just follow your interview and you get scheduled into the one that's just about to happen at the Dallas office, then you're going to have trouble, because that time when you're naturalized, you cannot leave with an older passport. You're now a U.S. citizen, and you will have to apply for the U.S. passport, get the requisite visas before you leave.
Oh, because I have to leave that same day after the naturalization interview. So that's.
I would rather that you, I mean, unless you have a very, very long trip that's upcoming.
No, it's not a long trip. It's only like a week trip.
Okay, so then reschedule your naturalization ceremony by writing out a letter to the government saying that you have travel plans, and do not undergo that naturalization interview. Reschedule it. But also do understand that once rescheduled, it is, number one, possible for the government to lose sight of your case. Number two, for them not to record that rescheduling in, and that's within the realm of our experience where the government does mess up on that. So ensure that the government has received your letter. Send it by something that you can track. Say, for example, UPS. Do not just mail out a US postal letter to them. Send it by FedEx or UPS so that you have tracking information of the fact that you've rescheduled this. Follow it up after that with a phone call to the 800 number, and that's when I would say that you should leave.
Okay, thank you very much.
All the best.
All right. Thank you so much for your call. Probably our next caller, Fun Asia Radio. You are live on the air. And we will leave it up to Pallavi to decide that.
Okay.
All right. Okay, going to our next caller, Fun Asia Radio. You are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Yeah, hi Pallavi. Actually, that regarding that PIO card to OCIO card, actually my son has a PIO card. We did not convert to OCIO card. If any emergency, so he can visit at India?
You know, you'll have to look at the consulate's requirements, and we can go over that. The Indian government's announcements, we don't keep up completely with, but I can definitely look it up and let you know. But if you look at the requirements, the PIO card should still be valid for a little while more, and it can be used. However, there may be a deadline to when it sunsets, and that may be coming up this summer. So confirm that for your travel, and then apply for the OCI.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And as keen as you are to ask questions to Pallavi, I know that she is very keen on replying all the answers before she before she leaves.
Let's go ahead and start.
So let's clear the board, and going to our next caller, Fun Asia Radio. You are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question. All right. Going to our next caller, Fun Asia Radio. You are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please. Fun Asia Radio, you are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question. Okay, moving on. 972-235-5555 is the number in the studio. Going to our next caller, Fun Asia Radio. You are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Hi, this is Vijay, and I'm currently in L1A. And when I came into US, I got moved from L1B to L1A. So my employer is filing an EB2 petition for me for green card. So and I would be maxing out my L1A stay by mid of 2017. So by that time, if my I-140 is approved, should I need to convert to H1 and extend it every year, or I need to, if I don't get my H1 picked, should I go out of the country and come back after a year? I mean, how it would work? Do you have an idea?
So you're going to be, yes, I mean, of course you can, if you have to get the fresh 6 years, then you'll have to step out of the country for 1 year and then resume your fresh 6 years. That's how you would have to handle that. If you do not have the EB2 based I-140, that gets approved, and that gives you the 3-year extensions based on the AC-21.
Okay, so when I'm in L1A, if my I-140 gets approved, can I extend it in with my L1A
No.
or I-130?
No, that is a benefit only available to H1B. So if you so let's look at the process. You would apply for the H1B if you're selected in the lottery and you have your, there won't be any time. Have you used all of your 7 years yet, or your
last 1.5 years is there?
Okay, so last 1.5. So you have only 6 months that remain for you to get onto the H1B, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would make sure that you have the in and out of the country that would allow you to still remain on that 6-month period. So, say for example, on October 1st, by the time the H1 kicks in, you have no 6 months left. Even if you get selected in the lottery, you're not going to have a result because the government won't give it to you. Okay?
Right.
Because there is no availability of time for you. Okay. One thing may be that if you were to leave the country for the next 6 months, your employer files for the H1B starting on October 1st on counselor processing basis. While they process the labor as well as the I-140, then you may have a chance that you have 6 months that's available to you. So that means October 1st to end of March for 2017, and then with an I-140 approval, you get 3 years.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And one last caller.
I think so. Just real quick, Meetu, what I wanted to give, and this is an update to the lady that had the question about the PIO. Just want to let her know. I said that the PIO may be valid up until summer. It is valid only up till 31st of March of 2016. So if you are a PIO card holder, and that's for the minor kids as well, then it's important that the OCI is applied for prior to that. So if there is travel that goes past that March 31st date, then be careful that PIO may not be valid. And that's what CGI's office and the Gazette that I can pull up right now from the Indian government that says that.
All right. Thank you so much for that information. And for all of you, it is important to know that if you want to revisit a question or to understand it once again, you might want to log on to ahluwalialaw.com, and they have the recordings of all the shows that she does with Funasia. So yes, that website once again for you, it is ahluwalialaw.com. All you have to do is click on client resources, and you will get a drop down menu where you will find all the recordings of our radio show with Pallavi Ahluwalia from Ahluwalia Law Offices. 972-361-0606 if you want to reach her and get advice. And yes, once again, 972-235-5555. That's the number in the studio. Going to our next caller, Funasia Radio. You are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Hi, my question was regarding to the citizenship. I've been here for more than 6-7 years, so I was trying to apply for the citizenship. What documents do I need to file with a citizenship form?
So you'll have 2 passport size pictures, front and back of your permanent resident card, along with your driver's license that shows your address, a current address. In addition to that, the form itself, the N400, requires you to trace the in and outs of the country. So as many times as you stepped out, you have to kind of put that on the form, and that would make them understand that you have had sufficient physical presence in the country for you to be eligible for naturalization. That's one.
Okay.
The second thing is that if you have any citations, any tickets, any criminal matters, then original copies of the adjudication or the disposition are required and have to be part of the filing.
Okay. So do I have to file any tax return documents with that? Because
No.
Okay.
It's not required,
Yeah.
but there is a question on the form that says that you have filed your taxes since you've been a permanent resident. So you have to say yes to it. So if you haven't,
And also, okay, I'm sorry. And also, is there any way to avoid the fee of the citizenship to file any form, or you have to pay whatever the fee is for the citizenship?
So there is, if there is a waiver that's available to indigent cases, and there is a request that can be made for the waiver of fees, but I think there is, they have to look to see whether you would qualify that for that or not.
Okay, got you. Thank you so much for your help.
Okay, all the best.
Thank you for your call. Moving on to our next caller, Fun Asia Radio. You are live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Hi, I have TPS and I also have H4. I need to travel to Canada in the recent future. What are my options for travel? Do I have to apply for advanced parole or do I have any other option?
So you are maintaining your H4 status in the country? You still have a spouse who's working and is on an H1B?
Yes.
Is the H4 stamped on your passport?
No, not yet.
Okay, it is not stamped on your passport. Okay, so to go to Canada, you can actually, because of the contiguous territory rule, which is the automatic visa revalidation, you can take your approval notice of the H4 and travel to either Canada or Mexico, and you will be allowed entry on the H4. Now you have to still fulfill the requirements of, if you don't have any valid visas with you, then you still have to fulfill the requirements of that particular country's immigration, which means Canada, if they require you to have a visitor visa, you'll have to have that. But you can go with your 797, which is your H4 approval notice, and then you will be allowed to re-enter the country with that 797.
But will I still be in the TPS if I do that?
Yeah, so the TPS is like a parallel status that is ongoing, which is giving you employment authorization, correct?
Yes.
So you're using it for employment authorization. Yes, I mean, yeah, so it is something that is a parallel process that allows you the ability to work because you belong to the temporary protected status. But the coming back into the country on an H4 just reestablishes the fact that you are still maintaining your H4 as well. So a lot of people that are on TPS have lost status and have no ability to work. There are also some that are on F1s that can work based on that TPS that allows them the EAD. So again, you can use the H4 to enter and use the TPS EAD to work.
Okay, perfect. Also, I'm from Nepal, so I don't have to go back to Nepal to stamp my H4, right? I can do that in Canada or Mexico.
Yeah, so yes, if you have, so one thing to understand, however, is Canada and Mexico can only take you on a discretionary basis, not as a matter of right. So okay. So then, so then if you're denied stamping in Mexico or Canada, then you'll have to go back to Nepal for the processing.
All right. Thank you so much for your calls, everybody. And thank you so much, Pallavi, for staying back a little longer and answering all the questions. And do look forward to hear from you next Wednesday.
Absolutely, Meetu. Thank you so much for hosting me. And this is for the person who had asked us for the fee waiver. The form that we did not mention was I-912. That's the form you use for the fee waiver. Just make sure that you meet all its requirements for you to be able to file that along with your NATS application. So all the best to the community, and we look forward to being back next Wednesday with your business matters and answer questions for you all.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.